This video is brought to you by these YouTube members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I really hope that you and everyone else watching is keeping safe during this crazy year. Hello everyone and welcome to the top 10 heart auto-ors on Bleach Brave Souls. As you guys know, you can pretty much auto with any character, but some characters certainly make it easier than others. In this list we'll be covering the best of the heart auto-ors, and it'll be sorted based on their reliability and speed. Please keep in mind that this list is solely based on autoing, and just because a character is higher than another on this list, doesn't necessarily mean they're a better overall character, just better at autoing. With that said, let's begin.
Bankai! ようやく臨月だよ。金色や急ぎ地蔵、また一福音招待。
Now we're starting off the list with Mayuri, the 1000-year Blood War version, who has a really high SP, Frenzy, Berserker at 20%, and a strong tech recharge link. Now if you're watching this, you already know why this character's on this list. It's because he's completely immune to all status ailments. This doesn't mean he won't take damage if hit by an attack that would cause status ailments, but you get the benefit of not having to worry about ever freezing, being paralyzed, burnt, poisoned, etc. Meaning Mayuri can finish a quest faster, and a bit more reliably since he doesn't take the extra damage. He can also inflict debilitating paralysis on all of his attacks, and they have pretty good range, especially his strong attack too. Now with that said, an autoing build for this character will rely a lot more on his strong attacks than it will his normal attacks. His normal attacks can still deal damage and paralysis, but not anywhere near on the level that his strong attacks can. And you kinda have to hope he'll spam his strong attacks when autoing, otherwise enemies can overwhelm him and take him out. If you build him correctly though, you'll be able to take out most if not all of a difficult quest using only Mayuri.
わらわは仕事が早いのが売りでな。千寿丸の名は伊達ではないぞ。
Next up we have Senjumaru, one of my favorite characters in this game, and a character that was actually very difficult to place on this list. This is because against Mind Arankar enemies, it's pretty hard to find anyone better. Senjumaru's got a really high SP as well as Frenzy. She's also got Berserker at 20%, Havoc at 20%, Bruiser at 20%, and she can inflict debilitating laceration on all of her attacks except for her strong attack too. Once an enemy is lacerated, she's able to inflict 40% more damage from all of her attacks, and if she's going up against Mind Arankar enemies, the chances of her inflicting laceration increases dramatically, which is why I said it's hard to find anyone better against Mind Arankar enemies than her. Senjumaru's also got a strong attack too that's a barrier move, and this is kind of a double-edged sword for her. On the one hand, she does get 3 barriers, which is definitely useful when autoing, but on the other it means she doesn't get to use that move as frequently. Despite that though, she is a very reliable character, and one that I personally frequently use for autoing.
せっかくの祭りじゃもっと楽しめ
Next up is one of my favorite characters in this game, the Halloween version of Yoroichi. Now, I have a lot of favorite characters in this game, but in her particular case, she's my second most used character in the game, and I play this game a lot. Now, the main reason I use her so much is because she's dressed like a cat, but the second most main reason is because she's a really good autoer. She currently has the highest attack in the whole game, post-resurrection of course, and she's got a plus 60 bruiser and a 25% normal attack damage link, making the total increase of her normal attack damage on her own 85%. I mean, I still would have preferred Flurry, but you can't win them all. Now when she got resurrected, she also got a 55% paralysis reduction link, which does come in handy when autoing. On top of that, she can also deal debilitating paralysis on all of her strong attacks, and it's particularly useful for her strong attack too, since it's the vortex move that surrounds her. When autoing, this is kind of the best kind of vortex move, aside from 5th anniversary Byakuya's, since it staggers the enemies around you, increases the combo, and in her case inflicts paralysis. I won't lie, I still wish she would have gotten a little bit better treatment when resurrected, like a better secondary link, and maybe Poise or Flurry. But even before her resurrection, she was still gonna end up on this list. She's just a solid autoer.
山くせえなエルギガンテエライラ
Next up on the list we have Yomi, a character with a really high attack, flurry, poise, and the normal attack damage link. So needless to say, he can dish out a lot of damage with his normal attack. He's also got a decent killer of Hollow, so you're good when it comes to killer multiplications. Yomi can also inflict debilitating burn on his strong attacks, though he can't do it on his normal attack. For that matter, his normal attack string only consists of 3 attacks. Now those 3 attacks are gonna do a lot of damage, but since most characters have a 4 attack normal attack string, it may make him a bit slower than some of the other characters remaining on this list. Still, he hits really hard, and thanks to the poise, he doesn't get staggered when hit, so he won't lose any time from that. On top of that, he's also completely immune to being frozen, one of the 2 big killers when it comes to autoing. Considering there's only one other Yami in this game, I'm really glad they didn't screw this one up. He is a spot at number 0 after all.
お前になら全力で戦っても良さそうだ。バカだ。
Next up is one of the best high SP characters to auto with, the heart version of Kenpachi Zaraki. Now he's been a fairly common filler lately, like super common. I believe there's a banner right now that has him in it, and if you get him, you should definitely not be disappointed. He's got a really high SP as well as Frenzy, Berserker at 40, and a 25% strong attack damage link, so his attacks are gonna hit really hard, and they're always gonna deal damage too. This guy's got guard break, and he can hit enemies that are hidden underground, meaning that unless they're resistant to melee damage, his attacks will always hit with the correct amount of damage, making him one of the faster characters on this list depending on how you build him. Now because he's got a strong attack damage link, you can't really build him in a way that he spams his strong attacks consistently. But he does have a plus 40 bruiser, so his normal attacks are gonna deal a decent amount of damage, and he's got poise, meaning he doesn't stagger, and you can only really stop him by freezing him or paralyzing him. Honestly, the other characters on this list are a bit more reliable, but building him correctly, Kenpachi's got the capability of being the fastest.
挽回水無月雑境はこれにておしまい。
Next up, we have a true legend, a character that a lot of us autoed with for a very long time in this game, the 1000-year Blood War version of Retsu. Now, as far as speed goes, pretty much every other character on this list has the potential to be faster than her. This is because she's got a captain killer, so when a killer is multiplied, she's the only one on this list that's not gonna benefit from it. With that said, she can still dish out a lot of damage on her own. She does have a high attack, and she's got flurry, so each of her attacks are gonna hit twice. Plus, they're pretty fast attacks, and she's got long reach. The real reason she's on here though is because she's really difficult to kill. For one thing, odds are that enemies attacking her will likely die before they get the chance to take her out, since she's got poise and doesn't stagger when being hit, meaning she can attack them while they're attacking her. And if they do manage to damage her, they're not gonna deal that much damage. She's got a 16% damage reduction link that can be stacked up to 76%, so it will take them a while to get her health low enough to actually be in danger. And if they do happen to do that, her strong attack 2 is a heal move. Build her correctly and you can have it heal her 40% of her total health every time it's used. Now personally, I don't use her much anymore because I have some other characters on this list that I prefer to use. But even then, she still sits at number 5 of my most used characters because she's just so reliable.
私を葬れると思ったか。無給竣工。
Next up, we have the 1000-year Blood War version of Soy Phong, a character with a really high attack, a normal attack damage link of 20%, flurry, and poise. Now, while Retsu may be more reliable, Soy Phong can definitely get the job done faster, since she's got an Arrancar killer and her strong attack 2 is a boost move with Enhancer. It also changes the magnifications of her strong attacks and her normal attacks, and lets him deal more damage still. On top of that, this strong attack 2 is also a vortex move that surrounds her. It may not last the entirety of the boost, but it's still really useful when autoing. In addition to that, the boost also increases her defense and focus by 33%, allowing her to resist more damage and land more crits.
さようなら。僕の目にはもう君は映らない。
Coming in at number 3, we have the Lieutenant of Squad 3, the Machine Society version of Izuru. Now this character has a really high attack as well as flurry. He's also got Bruiser at 30% and a damage reduction link of 16% that can be stacked up to 76%, meaning he can take damage like Retsu, and because of his Hollow Killer, dish out more damage than a non-boosted Soy Phong. In addition to that, he can also deal debilitating paralysis on all of his attacks except for his strong attack 2. Not to mention that he's ranged, so he can do all this from a distance, which helps keep him safe. If he does take damage though, it's not going to be much thanks to to his damage reduction, and he can just heal it thanks to his strong attack 2, that's a heal move. This Izuru is also completely immune to being frozen, which definitely helps out when autoing. Unfortunately, unlike many of the previous characters, he does not have poise. So if for some reason he does get overwhelmed, he can't really attack unless they give him some breathing room. Luckily he won't take that much damage and he can heal it, but it can still be a problem. Still, he's very likely to take out enemies before they get anywhere near him, and he's got a good chance of inflicting paralysis while he does.
てめえが何だろうと構わねえ。俺の前に立ち塞がるなら食い殺すまでだ。
Now, the final two characters are on a league of their own, and we're starting with the Camp for Your Own World version of Grimgel, the second one. This guy is really insane. He's got a really high attack as well as a plus 40 bruiser. On top of that, he's also got flurry and poise. So his normal attacks are going to hit ridiculously hard, and he will not stagger when hit. Now we've seen that before on this list, but out of all the other ones we've talked about so far, no one deals quite as much damage on their own like him. No one also resists damage like him because he's got a 20% damage reduction link that can be stacked up to 80%. So he is incredibly durable. Now if that weren't enough, he's got two really good abilities. Abilities we've seen on this list before. This Grimgel has guard break and the ability to hit hidden enemies, much like Kenpachi. Unlike Kenny though, he gets to abuse this primarily using his normal attack. This means that unless you freeze him, stun him, or kill him, there is no avoiding this character's full damage. You can't guard against it, you can't hide against it. All enemies can do is hope that they don't get taken out by a normal attack string, which is extremely unlikely, since as I established before, he hits like a truck. Now while he can resist a ton of damage, he's by no means invincible. As I mentioned before, he can be frozen or paralyzed, and if he gets burned or poisoned, he's gonna be in trouble. Still, the sheer speed of this character lands him at number 2 on this spot, and it's not like you can't attach a heal link to make up for his weaknesses.
これで全部終わりだ。波動の31釈迦。残念だったな。終わりだ。ヘドが出る。行こう。とどめと行くぜ。
無月。これで分かっただろ。
仕しすぎて天外まとい。万象等しく映し削らん。遠羅経典。
Now finally at number 1 is the character you all expected to see on this list, Tokinada. Now where to even begin with this character? He not only has a crazy high attack, but he's also got a normal attack damage link of 25% and a plus 20 bruiser, beating out Grimgel for the highest damage output on his own. And if it weren't enough, he's also got a strong attack 2 that's a boost move with Enhancer, increasing that damage even further, since it increases his attack defense and focus by 33%, effectively pushing his attack to over 1000 for 20 seconds after it's used. This also helps with the amount of damage his strong attacks can deal. He may be a high attack character, but he does have a plus 50 berserker, and his boost attack helps them out too. Tokinada also has guard break and he's ranged, so he can deal all of this from a distance, which is convenient because he doesn't have poise. Now while that is a bummer, a Zeta pill or whatever you want to call it can pretty much fix this. It doesn't give him poise, but it does give him the ability to hit hidden enemies, letting you basically take out everyone before they ever get a chance to get to you. Tokinada's also got no affiliation, which is great because there's no event right now with enemies that have no affiliation killers, meaning you can pretty much take him anywhere. To top everything off, this character is also completely immune to being paralyzed. Honestly, his only real weakness is if enemies spawn behind him and hit him before he hits them, because otherwise they don't stand a chance. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for some more top 10 lists.